Don't worry, Riley Gaines. I will say what you cannot say. That I am disappointed in you, Simone Biles. I thought you were an advocate for young girls. I thought you were an advocate for those who had been used and exploited. I thought you were an advocate for those whose voices had been silenced, and I thought wrong. I'm disappointed because today you've let down two communities. You've let down young girls who have supported you, and you've let down African Americans with this blackface trope of laughing with nothing intelligent to say. Wake up, sister. You're being used.
What Simone Biles tweeted was manipulative. I think it was performative. And to be honest, coming from an Olympic champion, I'm very disappointed. To publicly call out Riley Gaines really confuses me because she stands up for biological women, and y'all seem more concerned to stand up for biological men, trans women, and I don't understand it. Called her a sore loser because she doesn't want to compete against biological men. Like, be absolutely for real. Or you can't see it because you didn't have to compete against a biological man in your division. And then the icing on the cake is trying to stand up for all women, trans women, but then deliberately comparing Riley Gaines' body to a man. This is why I call Simone Biles' tweet performative, because if you truly cared about all women, then you would understand where Riley Gaines is coming from. She's standing for the majority of women, biological women. Simone Biles, I think you're an amazing, incredible athlete, but I definitely don't stand with people who do not stand with common sense.
Simone Biles is an embarrassment not only to women, but also to womanhood. Because how are you attacking a woman, Riley Gaines, who has been an advocate, who has been standing up for women and girls, not only from harm, but also women who have worked hard to get their deserved trophy and award, only for that to be ripped from them and given to biological men? You're an embarrassment.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to follow up on the viral story involving Simone Biles and Riley Gaines. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with this story, it involves Simone Biles going on an unhinged rant against Riley Gaines because Riley Gaines is defending women's sports. Okay, Riley Gaines is a women's rights activist, and she has been very, very, very outspoken about biological boys competing against biological girls in sports. Riley Gaines did nothing wrong, right, except defend women, like, for example, Simone Biles and their right to compete amongst themselves and not against biological boys or biological men in sports. And Simone Biles got upset. She got upset. She went on this unhinged rant, basically accusing Riley Gaines of being a bully, a sore loser, okay, and also saying that Riley Gaines looks like a man, right, or that Riley Gaines should pick on somebody her own size, which, according to Simone Biles, would be a man or a male. Now, again, like I told you guys, Simone Biles got a whole lot of backlash for this because she clearly was not thinking about some of her past posts and some of the things that she had previously spoke out about when she decided to body shame Riley Gaines. Like, for example, in 2018, Simone Biles revealed that she wore sweaters and jackets all year due to being bullied about her muscles. Okay, as you can see here, Simone Biles, I wouldn't say is exactly the most feminine looking woman. Okay, and she has been bullied for that, right? She has received criticism for the way that she looks, and it's something that she has been self-conscious about, right? And she spoke out about it, but for whatever reason, she decided it was a good idea to attack Riley Gaines for looking like a man, right? Also, on top of that, Simone Biles, back in 2017, also spoke out about how it is a good thing guys don't compete against girls or he'd take all the gold medals, right? So back in 2017, Simone Biles realized that, hey, biological boys competing against biological girls in sports, that is not fair, right? That is unfair. And she was thankful that that wasn't a thing, right? But fast forward to 2025, you have a lot of individuals who now worship at the altar of wokeness, okay? And wokeness is antithetical to common sense, which is why Simone Biles put out her nonsensical statement, her rant against Riley Gaines, okay? And this is what Riley Gaines' response was. She did a video in which she talked about the personal attack that Simone Biles levied against her.
Yesterday, Simone Biles, the Olympic gymnast, the best of the best, bar none. There is no one else even remotely in her league in women's gymnastics. I guess in an attempt to be inclusive and virtuous, decided to sell out all women and girls who have dreams to achieve and to succeed, and to specifically personally attack and body shame me. She tweeted this out of the blue, like this came out of nowhere, and she said, Riley, me, you're truly sick, all of this campaigning because you lost a race. First of all, if she's insinuating I lost to a man, I've lost several races in my career, duh, that's part of being an athlete. But if she's saying I lost to a man, that's factually incorrect. We tied, besides the point. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Let me get something straight. It's my job. It's the women's job. This is what Simone Biles is saying. It's the women's job to find a way for the men's feelings to be validated, for their identity to be affirmed. That's not my job, actually, at all. So to say I should be doing this is insane. If she wants to use her platform to uplift men and women's sports, then by all means, but it's certainly not my job, and I don't believe it's the job of any woman to do this. She goes on to say, but instead you bully them. One thing's for sure, no one in sports is safe with you around. I can't even make sense of that last part, actually. Then out of the blue, she tweeted this. Bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male, which is hilarious, really for two reasons. Number one, she's acknowledging there are differences, like physiological, biological differences between men and women in saying this. Secondly, I'm 5'5", which might seem like a giant to someone who's like 4'7", 4'8", but I'm pretty standard size for a woman. I guess like relatively muscular, right? Being an athlete, I would imagine Simone would understand that, but I weigh like 135 pounds, 5'5", of pretty much pure muscle. And again, if anyone would understand that, you would think it's Simone Biles, a woman who has historically been scrutinized for having a very muscular, masculine-looking body. She was scrutinized to the point she did this whole body positivity campaign. Then she has the nerve to say that I look like a man. And not to mention, this is a woman who has been incredibly brave in calling out and witnessing the horrific sexual abuse that she and hundreds of other female gymnasts faced at the hands of one sexual predator, that predator being Larry Nassar. In the same breath, believing that vulnerable women should be forced to strip down naked in front of men in locker rooms so long as it makes the man feel happy. If Larry Nassar came out as trans, would Simone think it's responsible or safe for him to be housed in a women's prison? To be very, very clear, I could care less what Simone Biles says about me. I'm a very secure person. I know I'm on the right side of history. I'm married, so if she wants to say I look like a man, I literally could care less. The most heartbreaking part about this, for me, is the platform that she has and the amount of young girls who look up to her. That she just, in a blink of an eye, sold out to appear to be virtuous. What we saw from Simone is the definition of pulling up the ladder behind you, something people like Megan Rapinoe have also done. I have a feeling that if Simone's inclusive dream came true, she would have 0 Olympic medals and no one would even know who she is. So if she wants to advocate for men and women's sports, by all means, it's America, you get to do that. I get to call you stupid for it, but you get to do that. Maybe in the 28 Olympics, she can compete and palm a horse in the rings. But I am going to keep standing up for women and girls, which is just about the least controversial take on the entire planet. If you can remove yourself from the opinions of the elite, of mainstream media, of Hollywood, of any elected representation, the position that I have taken is the same position that about 90% of Americans have taken, which is that men should not be in women's sports. Simone Biles having internalized misogyny and being a male apologist was certainly not on my 2025 bingo card.
Wow. That was perfect. I mean, that was wow. Wow. So Simone Biles has responded, okay, and she is basically issuing an apology. And one of the reasons why is because, again, she's getting a whole lot of backlash. There's a whole lot of hypocrisy. She essentially has exposed herself as somebody that you can't really take seriously, as somebody that probably has a handler, okay, that, you know, is essentially being used to push an agenda that she doesn't understand. So this is what she had to say. She said, I wanted to follow up from my last tweets. I've always believed competitive equity and inclusivity are both essential in sports, right? So again, notice how she doesn't use equality, right? Because she knows that using the word equality would not support having biological boys compete against girls in sports. The current system doesn't adequately balance these important principles, which often leads to frustration and heated exchanges. And it didn't help for me to get personal with Riley, which I apologize for. These are sensitive, complicated issues that I truly don't have the answers or solutions to, but I believe it starts with empathy and respect. I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. No, that's actually what you were doing, right? That's exactly what you're doing. You may not have been aware that that's what you were doing, but that is what you were doing, okay? My objection is to be singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful, aka you're not supposed to be able to criticize trans athletes, right? You're not supposed to say anything about them, okay? You're not supposed to say, hey, this is not fair, right? Or that this shouldn't be allowed, okay? No, you can't do that, right? You have to just sit silently and just, not say anything as girls lose out on opportunities. Individual athletes, especially kids, should never be the focus of criticism of a flawed system they have no control over. I believe sports organizations have a responsibility to come up with rules supporting inclusion while maintaining fair competition. We all want a future for sport that is fair, inclusive, and respectful. XOXO Simone. Yeah, so again, here's what Simone Biles doesn't realize, because again, she's very ignorant on this topic, okay? The individuals that she's trying so hard to defend, right? She's bending over backwards, doing gymnastics, okay? Mental gymnastics here to defend, don't want what she's advocating for, right? In her original post, she claimed that, hey, people like Riley Gaines should be fighting for trans athletes to be able to compete amongst themselves, right? To have a trans category. But they don't want that, right? They don't want fairness in sports, okay? There is no solution. There is no compromise that these people are willing to accept. That is what Simone does not understand. That's what she doesn't realize. She keeps coming out here and trying to pretend as if, oh, we can achieve equity and inclusivity, and that's what I want. I just want inclusivity. Listen, these people, okay, the people that you're trying to defend, they don't want fairness in sports. You cannot have equity and inclusivity in sports while also at the same time having fairness, right? It doesn't jive, okay? It doesn't work. And that's why Simone Biles needs to have somebody sit down with her and explain this stuff. I mean, preferably a strong masculine man. And that's what I got questions about at this point, right? Where's her husband? Right? Where is her husband? Why is her husband not sitting this woman down and explaining to her why she's wrong and why she clearly is uninformed and not thinking correctly when it comes to this topic? Well, see, again, this is what happens when you don't have strong male leadership, because strong male leadership would not have allowed this post to be made in the first place, right? The post originally attacking Riley Gaines, okay? A strong male would have said, no, I don't think you should have put that out, right? I don't think that you should be fighting these battles. But hey, I don't know. I have no clue what's going on in her household or whether or not her husband was aware. I'm just saying that in the ideal situation, this doesn't happen at all, because, again, you have a strong husband, a strong man that says, no, you shouldn't put this out, right? This is not a battle that you should be fighting. This is not a good look for us. Let's not do this. But hey, here we are. Okay, Simone Biles issuing what appears to be an apology. Okay, she's not saying I'm sorry, but she says, she apologized for getting personal with Riley Gaines, basically saying that she looks like a man. But who knows? The apology might not be enough, because people in the comment section don't seem to be accepting Simone's apology, right? This person, Real Kira Davis, says, any girl sport that includes males will always be excluding the rights and feelings of the girls. Good try, Simone, but you've shown your true colors. You are no girl's girl, that's for sure. This person says, quote, I believe it starts with empathy. She's right on this point. All of this nonsense starts with empathy. If we acknowledge that empathy is a horrible emotion to base policy and replace it with compassion, we can get to solutions. The downfall of Simone Biles needs to be studied. You blew it. There's no place for men in women's sports. I'm boycotting any business that hires you. Apology not accepted. Not only did you body shame a woman, but you also gaslit thousands of girls who understand that granting special privileges to male bodies in female sports is deeply unfair and harmful. Shame on you, Simone. I see you hire a crisis PR firm to write a statement using ChatGPT in an attempt to salvage what's left of your image. We already know your true thoughts. You're a fraud and you've exposed yourself. At least you apologize, but I know what you meant. Quote, I know men and women's sports is bullshit. Wish we had a better solution, but I can't say that from my platform or I will be called a sellout by the unhinged leftist friends. Yeah, I mean, that essentially is what this is, right? That is what this is, okay? This is basically her trying to thread a needle, right? Try to thread a needle that you can't thread on this issue. And that's what these Democrats got to understand. That's what these liberals, these leftists, these Holly weirdos, these woke athletes, that's what you got to understand. You can't thread the needle on this issue, right? This is a very black and white issue, okay? Biological boys competing against biological girls in sports is not fair. It'll never be fair. I don't care what type of liberal logic they use, leftist logic they use in order to justify it. Nobody or the vast majority of society is not going to agree. And that's it, right? And Simone has shown how she really feels, okay, and how big of a hypocrite she is. How, again, she is not pro women's rights or girls' sports, that she cares about her woke ideology and I guess the connections that she has in Hollywood and her endorsements and her sponsorship. She cares a lot more about that, okay, herself, okay, rather than the girls that look up to her in sports. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.